Hello gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's World of Gaming, your #1 podcast, where we discuss everything that the world of gaming has to offer, games, news, technology, and we go through basically everything that happened over the course of the week. And for those who follow me on Twitter, you might have already heard that this show is now also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the good stuff. So if you want to listen after the fact, you can do that now via a podcast service of your convenience. And for those that do listen on audio only, I definitely recommend to also check the show out on YouTube because we have an awesome live chat here. The best community out there. And so I want to say a big thanks for everyone who has already tuned in. And of course, a hello to everyone who listens after the fact. But enough with the self-advertisement. Let me welcome today's guest, Mr. Jez Corden from Windows Central, the face of Windows Central Gaming, co-host of the Xbox 2 podcast and fellow lover of mayo on fries. So welcome to the show.
Hello there. Thank you very much for having me. It's awesome to be here. Shout out to all the peeps. And I'm also based in Germany, but I don't speak German, unfortunately.
So we keep it to
coming
English.
Along slowly. Yeah, I think that might be for the best.
All right. All right. Yeah, we have an international community here, so it's probably better to stick with English. But man, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. And in case that anyone of the listeners don't know who Jez is or just likes to hear what he does on social or Windows Central, you can find all his links in the description of the show. Just click there, you find everything Windows Central, Twitter, etc., etc. So, okay, we are going to have an awesome show here today. Even though the news were relatively light this week, we have something great planned. I talked to Jez. We discuss a little bit the game roadmap because if we have an insider and someone who knows the industry so well like you do, Jez, we have to talk a little bit about the Xbox game roadmap. But before we do that, I want to start a gaming podcast with a little bit about, or with a little chat about the games that we actually play. So, this week we had a couple of releases. Lost Ark came out on PC. I'm trying to stay away from that game because it is a time sink and it is 110% my game. So I have to postpone it until we have beaten Horizon and Elden Ring. So yeah, Cyberpunk came out, the next gen patch, obviously a couple of releases on the Switch like Assassin's Creed Collection, and yeah, on PC we had Total Warhammer 3 launched just today actually, and Horizon Forbidden West is obviously coming out tomorrow. So what have you been playing, Jez?
I've been playing one game I can't talk about at all, and which is very good, and I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that very soon. But I've been playing a lot of Dark Souls recently. Like anyone who watches my tweets and sees my Twitter, they'll probably have seen a lot of Dark Souls tweets over the last few weeks. I really wanted to get into the Souls likes because I wanted to get on the Elden Ring train and get on the Elden Ring hype. Yeah. And I was like, I had this massive FOMO. I never really played Souls likes before. Like tried to get into Dark Souls a couple of times and I just didn't get it. And I was just like, I'm determined this time to get into Dark Souls, and I did. It finally clicked, and now I'm obsessed. So I've been playing Dark Souls Remastered.
Yeah. The Souls games are awesome. I played a ton of them many years ago. I started with Demon Souls, was my first Souls game, obviously, but when I became a father, I kind of lost the patience because you have this less game time. Yeah, I lost the patience, but I'm definitely getting back into Elden Ring again. The last game I played was Dark Souls 3, but I never actually finished it. I just like I said, I didn't have the patience, but Elden Ring looks so good.
That's fair.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah. It's they're special games. Like I really do feel like it's changed my taste in games. Like because like you say, becoming a father changed your gaming habits, right?
Yeah.
Well, becoming like a games journalist kind of changed mine too. And one thing I really like about the Souls likes is how light on taking control away from you they are. Like when I'm playing a game like I don't know, something with loads of cutscenes. I find like I get irritated with them because I'm often multitasking, and it's like I can't multitask if I'm being forced to watch like a 20-minute long cutscene to stay invested in the story. But with the Souls likes, the story's kind of like it's there if you want it, and it's there if you've got time for it, and you can come back to it when you want to. So like I really appreciate that aspect of them. They're just pure gameplay, and I really appreciate that.
What I always appreciated is the deep RPG mechanics, because in other RPGs you have them, but you sometimes really don't need them to understand how it works. But if you want to beat a Souls-like game, you really have to take advantage of what the RPG system offers to you. So
yeah, it is. They are super deep, and you know, on the downside, you can sort of make a character build that can almost break your progression. Because I was playing like in Dark Souls Remastered. I made a sorcerer in my second playthrough, and I made it just such a total glass cannon. I got to a point in the game where pretty much everything was one hit killing me, and I was just like, man, I should have invested maybe a little bit more in stamina in there. But I did manage to dig myself out of that hole, because at least you can grind if you make a mistake and stuff. But yeah, they're special games. But you know. I was saying that like I do appreciate the fact they're light on story, but that being said, I have also been playing Cyberpunk 2077 again.
Nice.
Which you got some nice gameplay up on the screen, because they released a big 1.5 patch.
Yes.
And I haven't played it since launch, and I played it on PC and I loved it. I went into the game with no expectations. I didn't watch any of the marketing for it, which was probably a mistake, because my opinion of it was very, very different to everyone else's. Like I feel like a lot of people were expecting like Grand Theft Auto Deus Ex or something, but I was just expecting open world Deus Ex, and that's basically what I got. So I was very happy with the game. And
me too. I played it on the Series X, and obviously it had bugs, but which open world game doesn't have them? To be fair, so I thought it was very much playable at launch on the Series X. I think most of the issues obviously were on the last gen consoles, and I had a full playthrough, 80 something hours when it came out. I totally loved that game. It was awesome. I also went back, tried it with the new patch. It looks and runs great now. Obviously they've done a lot, especially in performance mode. They significantly increased the resolution. We had the performance mode before, but it was stuck at 1080p, and that really helps now. And I'm doing another playthrough, but not right now, a little later this year, because so many other games just came out.
It's such a magical game. Like I'm going back through it, I'm just like I just came in from reviewing Dying Light, right? And which is Dying Light's had very positive reception. It's a very good game, but like you can't compare the open world of Dying Light to Cyberpunk. Like Cyberpunk's open world is so much better, so much more detailed, so much more depth in it. And like when I play open world games like Ubisoft open worlds or Dying Light or some other open worlds now, I always compare them to Cyberpunk, and it's just like I can't go back to a non-Cyberpunk open world now. And they've added a load of new open world features to it recently. Like I said on Twitter, I was just like, I was walking around and a body fell out the sky and landed in front of me. And at first I was like, oh God, it's a bug. There's just a random NPC falling out of the sky. But no, it was a stressed out corporate manager committing suicide by jumping out of a skyscraper window. And it's happened a bunch of times now. And you hear it. It's like, and then splat on the ground. And I was just like, man, it's just so much detail in that game, and I love it.
Absolutely.
And like you say, it runs really well on Series X now. So I'd say, personally, I've given it my recommendation. If you've got a Series X, then now's the time to play. But maybe not if you've got a Series S, though.
Yeah, I was wondering why they didn't include a performance mode in that version. They had the game running at 1440p, but 30 FPS, so 1080p, 60, I don't know.
They have said that they're going to, CD Projekt Red have said they're going to explore getting it up to 60 frames on the Series S, but like, it's a very, because of all that detail and all all that stuff going on, stuff that you don't really realize and appreciate, because it is kind of seamless. Like the fact that like you can look out a window and see the whole open world. A lot of other games, they use sort of trickery to render interiors in maps and stuff. But Cyberpunk like just streams the whole world and the interiors at the same time. So it is like there are trade-offs to that immersion, right? I think one of the trade-offs is that on the lower end consoles, the game really suffered. Like it really struggled on the PS4 and Xbox One, and it's kind of struggling on the Xbox Series S. So but hopefully they can do something to get it up, because you know the performance on sort of mid-range ish PCs ain't too bad either. So
Yeah,
you know, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
True. What do you think about the timing? Because that confused me a little bit. They randomly dropped that out of nowhere, basically in the middle of February, where we just had Dying Light. Yeah, I finished that 2 days ago. We have Horizon Forbidden West, obviously. We have Elden Ring. We have Destiny. We have a couple of other games. It's mad.
This
and
is
I
the
thought,
cursed February. It's
Yeah,
the
right.
cursed February. Lost
busiest
Ark.
month in gaming.
All kinds of
Lost
stuff.
Ark, yeah, exactly.
It's a crazy month. This is the craziest February that I know. It's almost like for some reason all devs just looked at February and thought, "Yep, we're going to release every game ever made this month, right in February." And then Cyberpunk came in out of nowhere, basically re-releasing the game. So, but yeah, it's absolutely nuts. I mean, for us, in terms of workload, it's been really, really crazy. Lost Ark took our team by complete surprise. Like, I just thought, I saw Lost Ark and I thought, oh, it's Amazon, it's free to play. Yeah, it'll probably be big, but I did not expect it to be breaking Steam records and shit. Oh, sorry, can we swear on this podcast?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, thank fuck. I mean, sorry.
All good. Yeah, no, that game took a lot of people, I think, by surprise. I didn't have it on my radar. I knew it was coming, but I thought, yeah, another cheap Diablo clone. But yeah, it is apparently really, really good. Everyone I know who plays it loves it, and is totally hooked. And they just yesterday they announced that they will add a lot of more servers across Europe because they can't keep up with the demand with so many people playing the game. So yeah, I will be playing that probably in March or something. All right. Yeah, with Cyberpunk, I was a little confused because they, like you said, they had a relaunch kind of thing, and I was wondering why didn't they move it to March, or when they have a better spotlight and not get crushed with all the other releases. That's kind of weird. Yeah.
I think they're kind of thinking like, you know, people have been waiting long enough for this game to be updated. So, like, if it's ready, let's just push the updates live. They haven't. Like, I was thinking that they'd wait and then actually release it as like a special edition, like Cyberpunk, you know, Ultimate Edition or something like that, and try to give it a proper relaunch with the branding.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad they've done it this way, because they do owe it to people who bought the game day one to fix the issues with it.
Yeah.
Like, I had a pretty good experience on PC. Yeah, there were bugs and glitches, but I thought they were pretty standard for an open world game. Like Witcher 3 was buggy at launch, and Skyrim was buggy at launch, and God, from Fallout New Vegas was way buggier than Cyberpunk was at launch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, maybe people don't remember, but I never some of the bugs I had in New Vegas were hilarious. Like, I'd like walk into a house and then, oh, the house has no floor, and just fall through the floor and then spawn back into the house and there was still no floor. So, like, you know, I never had anything that crazy in Cyberpunk, but obviously the console versions were a different story, and press, we never had access to those versions of the game. So, but what really encouraged me about Cyberpunk was it wasn't just performance fixes, it was features too. Like, they added you can change your hairstyle now. They've added a bunch of new weapons. I found a few of them already. They've rebalanced a lot of the gameplay progression mechanics, so making a build feels more deep now. You can't just
the inventory is improved a lot.
Yeah. Even in like ray tracing mode, the performance in the inventory is still at 60 frames and, you know, re-performant. And They've retuned the cold blood tree, and the vehicle handling's better. You can do burnouts with the vehicles now, and there's all kinds. There's so many like little tweaks and little upgrades and little improvements they've done.
Quality of life improvements.
Yeah. So it's sort of making me hopeful that we're sort of getting out of fixing the game now and more towards adding content to the game, expansions and stuff like that. Because The Witcher 3 had some of the The Witcher 3 had some of the best DLC ever in gaming. Those 2 expansion packs for Witcher 3 were just incredible value. Dozens of hours of gameplay and really good content. So I think the game will get back to, reach its full potential. But I'm obsessed with it, Cyberpunk. I just love it. But I'm like, I'm an Akira fanboy, and this is sort of my dream game. It was at launch and it still is. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Cool. Yeah. It is a great game. Definitely. Let me catch up on some of the super chats that already came in. First, I want to thank 2 people, Mr. Joanna Darik and Chaos Smite, for becoming a channel member. Thank you guys so much. That will grant you early access to all the videos on the channel. Appreciate the support. Then we have my friend Wandering Dutch writing in with a super chat. Says Dark Souls intervention team has arrived for chess. I think it was a fairly long discussion here. And then we have where is it there? Aaron JF says, "Chess, teach me how to play Elden Ring."
We're gonna have a lot of guides about Elden Ring on Windows Central. Like the whole team is going to be working on guides for that game. So nice. If you want to get into it, we'll have content for you. No worries.
Nice. That's definitely a game where a guide can help you, especially when you're getting started with it. So,
oh yes,
yeah. Looking forward to see that. All right. Anything else you've been playing, or should we move on to the news?
That's pretty much it, really. I've been playing Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls Remastered, second playthrough, a secret game I can't talk about, and Cyberpunk. And I don't think I'll be playing anything else in the foreseeable, frankly. You played anything interesting?
Yeah, I finished Dying Light 2 days ago. I loved it. It was a really good game. The traversal, the parkour system, great. I didn't get the criticism of the story. I really liked the story and the choices that you could make. So I definitely had fun with that. And then I tried Crossfire X, and good lord, is that awful.
I played like a couple of matches in Crossfire X, and I was just like, nah, this ain't for me.
No,
I just noped out of that one pretty quick.
Not at all. And I also jumped into the campaign. And like 30 minutes in, I said, nah, no, I have better games to play. Definitely. So, and then I also played a little bit of Cyberpunk. I started a complete new playthrough here. You can see a little footage running here in parallel. That's very early in the game, so no major spoilers here. I always try to pay attention when I record gameplay that I show on the show, that there are no story spoilers or so included. So that's basically early in the game, and you can see it runs on performance mode very nicely. Great looking game. Yeah, but that's about it. And so I would say we move on to the few news bits that we had over the course of this week. All right.
I do like the jingles.
You do like
quite approve of them, yeah.
It gives the show a little structure, and it also helps me to keep up with the timeline tags. So let me just write it down. And after 20 minutes, I need to put a tag into the YouTube video. All right. I have a couple of news, smaller news bits. One thing I wanted to discuss with you, I wanted to really hear your thoughts as being one of the well-known on social media, game journalists, is You have heard about that Martha is Dead game, and PlayStation apparently censored a certain scene of it. And for those who haven't
Yes.
heard it, it's a horror game, and there's a certain scene in the game that is uncensored on PC and Xbox, and PlayStation has something in their policies that made the developer to basically censor that. And I wanted to discuss with you censorship in games. What's your point and take on this? Is this okay for a platform holder to intervene at a certain point? Or do you say, hey, we are all adults, we can make our own choices?
I think there is some content that should be censored. I mean, obviously, when it comes to like stuff that could be seen as glorification of pornographic elements that are sort of like they're just gratuitous or whatever, and they're not really like to do with the story and they don't have context. But I know the scene that they censored in Martha is Dead because I've actually played the game, unlike a lot of people who've commented on it. And I've actually experienced the scene myself when I previewed the game last summer. I previewed the game and I actually experienced the scene myself. Now, the scene in question, and I'm not going to spoil it because it's important to the story, and I'm not going to spoil it because, like I wrote in my preview, it was mind-blowing. When I got to that scene, I was like, oh my God, that's going to scar me for life. But it's a good scarring because it's like I want to feel when I play. I don't know about you, but when I play a game, I want to feel emotionally impacted. And it's a lot of the time these days, games just don't make me feel anything. Like when I play Ubisoft game, for example, and I hate on Ubisoft a lot lately, I find, but I just find Ubisoft games to be so devoid of having a soul. They don't do anything risky. They always go back to the same sort of safe themes. Like all
formula.
their games they always have the same safe themes, the same safe formula. The villains always seem to have the same motivations in all their games because they're so afraid of upsetting people, right? And that's fair enough. If you want to make a game that like doesn't upset anyone, then that's fine. That's a valid business reason to do that kind of thing. But Martha is Dead is different. The devs making Martha is Dead, they want to make something you'll remember. And what the scene in question is wholly relevant to the story, and I can't really go into it too much detail without spoiling it. But if you hear what people are saying without context, you might just think, oh, it's just gratuitous violence for the sake of it. Kind of like maybe I feel this way about Saw 2 and Saw 3 and Saw 4 and movies like Hostel, where it's just like, it's violence for the sake of it or whatever. But it's not like that in Martha is Dead. It's more like Saw 1. Like in Saw 1, the whole movie builds up to this one really violent, uncomfortable scene.
Yeah.
And you remember it. You remember that scene. And I won't tell you what it is again because it's spoilers. But Saw 1 is legendary for this particular scene.
It is. Agreed,
yeah. And I feel like Martha is Dead is the same way. And I think if you remove the scene in question, it really damages what they're going for here with the character's psyche, because it's a nightmare sequence. It's not even like it's as far as I'm aware anyway. It's not even like it's sort of it's just a horror game. It's like a cutscene basically. It's a sequence, but it's relevant to the story and it's relevant to the character development. So I find this particular instance of censorship to be very irritating, and it also irritates me as well that a lot of people are defending the censorship because they're all like, "Oh well, the scene sounds gross anyway," just because they're doing it out of fanboyism, really, because they don't want to criticize Sony for anything. And I think like. I do think in this particular case, it's ridiculous, but I do think that game developers and platform holders, they do have a responsibility to some degree to vet content and make sure that certain types of content don't make it past their censors. Some stuff's just disgusting for the sake of it, or it's there for shock value and stuff like that. But in this case, I really do feel like it was art, and I really feel like Sony's overstepped the mark a bit here. And the fact that Xbox didn't censor it, because I know Xbox is very careful with this stuff. To me, that's just Sony being, there's not really better.
They
word
have
for it, really,
special
but they've gone too far.
policies sometimes. Yeah. See, obviously, being a German, I'm well known to censorship in games. In Germany,
Yes, you are.
yeah, a lot of games are censored. Yeah, obviously, for instance, Wolfenstein. Yeah, we can't depict the Nazi symbol. What's it? Swastika or something in
Swastika,
like that.
yeah. In
Yeah,
English,
I never can pronounce that right. Yeah, you're not allowed to depict that symbol in any entertainment product. So, for instance, those games are censored, and also when it comes to a lot of gore, usually the German government censors a lot of stuff out. Just recently, Dying Light 2, I had to play a censored version of it. Yeah, some of the blood was turned white, and they had to remove some of the
Really?
animations. Yeah, it is.
See, it's funny because like my Xbox is set to UK, so I don't get some of that censorship. That
Yeah.
being said, when I first came to Germany, my Xbox wouldn't let me download Gears of War 2
Yes,
because
it
it's
was
like it's
never came
blocked.
out. Gears 3
Yeah.
was the first Gears game that officially released in Germany. The first two were forbidden because they were too gory at the time. Yeah. Actually, I lost my first Xbox account because of that. That was at the end of the 360 generation. So 10, 11 years ago, something like that. I put my location to the UK, and I bought, it was either Wolfenstein or Doom, one of the two games, in the uncensored version, and Microsoft banned my account for that. So,
Oh dear.
yeah.
That sucks. I noticed as well. I couldn't even download Hexen on Steam in Germany. It won't let me
Yeah,
download Hexen. I was like,
I
Hexen? Really? Pixel violence is
yeah.
censored in Germany?
Yeah.
But it's
They removed
yeah.
I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago. They removed the original Doom from that index list. So that was the first time the
right,
original Doom was available in Germany. So yeah, so I'm
already
well
over
aware.
years, like yeah.
Pardon me.
I was just saying, like Germany's gotten better. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
most games aren't censored in Germany now. Like it hasn't irritated me because censorship really irritates me. Because like we don't really have any in England. Like you can get as violent as you want with media in England, but I think
I know the
most
US
games
are
censored these
relatively
days.
restrictive when it comes to sexualized content. So
Yeah,
sometimes
Conan Exiles was censored in America,
yeah.
because
So
of its penises, which is hilarious
exactly.
to me.
Yeah, you can shoot everyone in the head, but you're not allowed to depict a boob or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, but knowing censorship in games, it just sucks. Like you said in the very beginning, there are certain things that where I can agree with censorship. There was, for instance, I can't remember the name, this one game that came out on PC that where the entire game was about walking around raping women, for instance, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
if you
just
censor,
ridiculous.
that's just ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely. And in stuff with something like that, I can totally understand censorship. But in general, I know how it sucks to have censored games and to have these, because you sometimes really can tell. In Dying Light, I was able to tell, okay, that animation was never supposed to look like this, because there was just something censored out. And I was also surprised that Sony has these apparent special policies for censorship, and we have the M ratings, or in Germany they're called ratings 18, so that you're only allowed to play it when you're 18 or older, and they are there for a reason. And in the end, we are adults, and I think we can handle the violence. And if not, the game is simply not for us. Like you said, don't take out the creative vision of a developer out of the game.
Yeah. The real irony about all this stuff with Martha is Dead is it's probably the best marketing for the game ever.
Yeah.
Because now it's like it was so bad that Sony censored it. Now I want to play it for real. You know, especially given the fact that it's not censored on Xbox or PC. Honestly, I'm a big fan of narrative adventure games generally. Like I I want to shoot things, in my
Yeah.
narrative adventure games, or my horror games rather. I like Resident Evil. Like the most I'll accept is like Silent Hill, where there's combat, but maybe the combat's really not really the point of the game.
Yeah.
But Martha is Dead is not going to be a combat kind of game. It's like it's a narrative adventure horror game, kind of similar to maybe your Outlast and stuff like that, where there are
The
tools in the
Medium.
game. Yeah, like the Medium, maybe. Like there are tools in the game. For example, you have a camera in the game, and photography is a big part of the game. Actually,
Okay.
the main character is into photography, and part of it is kind of like Fatal Frame. If you've ever played that,
I have not.
where
No.
it's like, yeah, it's like you take photographs, and like weird shit appears in the photographs, and helps you solve aspects of the story and progress the story forward and that kind of thing. So but I did feel like there was enough interactivity in the game that it made me want to keep going and play it more, even though it doesn't have combat in it, because you have to develop the photos, and you have to get involved in some of that stuff in sort of in a deeper way than some of these other narrative adventure games. So and also it's disgusting. Like I was like what, I ain't squeamish. I've seen a lot of horror movies in my time, but Martha is Dead was like, man, that is pretty grim. What is having me do right now?
Okay.
And so I was just like, it's burned on my mind. It really is. So I'm really intrigued to see what else the game has to offer, and I hope more people will check it out now because they become aware of it because of this censorship, which is really funny.
Yeah, it's best viral marketing you can have.
Yeah,
definitely. All right. We had a rumor this week coming from Jeff Grubb. I think you have heard of him before. He teased
Mr.
something. Yeah. Goldeneye Remaster might be announced by Microsoft soon. Within the next couple of weeks, actually.
Interesting.
So, have you heard anything about this? And do you think it's a good idea to remaster that game, or?
I haven't heard anything on my end. Like Jeff's honestly got better sourcing than me on a lot of this stuff. Like a lot of my information comes from, I don't know, sort of when Microsoft starts working with their partners is when I often get information, right? So like because partners are often more leaky than Microsoft itself, but Jeff has better sourcing on what's actually going on inside Microsoft at the time. And but I haven't heard anything myself through my sources. But when it comes to how I feel about GoldenEye, I played the original quite a lot actually. Me and my friends used to play the multiplayer a lot. Lot of arguments over that game. A lot of C4 abuse in that game. Blowing people up, and it's a very, very, very smart kind of multiplayer game. I enjoyed it a lot as a kid, but I also kind of feel like it wouldn't hold up by today's standards.
Yeah,
like the way
it really doesn't. I played it last year. I hooked up my old N64 and tried it, and it holds up really bad.
Yeah,
but I have the best memories.
I seem to remember like you had to hold down one of the buttons to sort of aim precisely and stuff, and it's really strange controls. Like the N64 controllers were just strange in of themselves. Like they were designed for people with 3 hands or something. But
and we are not used to have only one stick on a controller, and you had to do what the right thumbstick usually does with 4 buttons, and that really doesn't hold up well. So that game definitely needs a remaster, but I think it is a great IP. I spent way too many hours on that. Speaking of censorship, that was also a censored game here in Germany. And I was actually at the time an exchange student in London. For my school, we had an exchange program, and I bought it in London, took it back home, and I was the king on the schoolyard because I had the uncensored version.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah. So let's see if this will be actually announced. It is a classic game, and I don't think remaster is what it needs. It probably needs a proper remake. So let's see what we will get.
I imagine they'll revamp the controls and stuff like that if they are bringing it back. And Jeff tends not to be wrong about this stuff. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to it. But I don't think it'll be sort of. A lot of people lately, I mean, this is one of the topics you brought up, but like a lot of the people are very, very sort of eager for some news about the Microsoft, games and franchises right now. And I feel like this won't be enough to satisfy people.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Let's use that as a segue into our next topic. You guys on Windows Central had an amazing, great article up there about, I think it was from Miles, about whether Xbox needs that kind of Nintendo Direct format, because Microsoft is currently having like one big show at E3 or during E3 week and the year, and we wait the entire year for that one show, and then they have a couple of announcements, and then it's more or less another year's silence. We have the Game Awards at the end of the year where they show maybe 1-2 trailers, but that's about it. And Nintendo does it. Sony also does it to some degree. At least they give certain games certain spotlight shows with their state of plays, but it was a great read. I have the link in the description. It's does Xbox need a Nintendo Direct format, something like every 3 months or so, 20-30 minutes long, where they give us a proper update on what's coming? Let us hear your thoughts, Jez.
So, Miles Dompier wrote this. Dompier. He's got a French name.
Name, Dompier.
He wants to be complicated with his pronunciation of his name. But yeah, Miles is a great guy, and he does a lot of great work for Windows Central. And he wrote this article saying, "Does Microsoft need their own sort of Nintendo Direct?" I personally totally agree. I think like the sort of the formula, especially in a post E3, post COVID pandemic world, I think the world has sort of moved on from this idea of we need one big marketing show a year, and increasingly the Game Awards have become that kind of show, whereas E3 sort of decreased in relevance over the years, and it was decreased in relevance even before the pandemic. There was a lot of questions about whether it was even necessary anymore, which is why E3 opened itself up to fans in the first place, because originally E3 was press only, like only press could attend.
Well, but even before the press, it was actually all retailers only.
Yeah, so it's crazy how things have evolved, and how like developers and PR teams now they know they can go direct to influencers and bypass the press entirely, which has its plus sides and downsides. But they can also go direct to fans with literally calling it Nintendo Direct. That's literally a reference to how you're supposed to market things these days through the power of social media. You don't need the press as a mediator. You don't need the press. The press don't have the sort of the platform real estate anymore to where you have to sort of run everything by them and go through their platforms and their audiences. You can go straight to the audiences thanks to the power of social media. But Microsoft doesn't seem to have gotten that message somehow. And I think there's a lot of I think there's a lot of old school thinking at Microsoft where they're like, let's do things the old way and let's keep things E3 style and have these big press presentations and have like these sit down interviews with not journalists, with presenters and hosts and stuff like that. And it's just not cool anymore, man.
I agree.
It's not
I agree,
hip and cool.
It is marketing. I want to say marketing has never been the proper strength of Microsoft. Again, I know in the US a lot of things are different, but especially around here in Europe, marketing is really not their strength. And like you said, E3 became less and less relevant even before the pandemic. Sony bailed out of E3 before the pandemic. Yeah. It became less and less irrelevant, and I know why people wanted it. It is a great thing for the industry as a whole if you have that one week where you have all the buzz around video games, and even journalists outside of the gaming space report on video games during that week. So it has a lot of impact. But on the other hand, like you said, it kind of feels like a relic when you have these major presenters having faked interviews, when you can rather have a well-known influencer just having also a direct chat with one of the executives, and give a probably a much more what's a good English word, a better interview with a little bit more integrity, if you want.
More frank interview.
Yeah, more
frank interview.
Frank interview. And yeah, and then of course the news cycles are faster these days. That's also the case. And if you have like one show, and look at 2022 now. Yeah, we had Stalker was supposed to come out in April. That has now been moved to December, and now we know that we have a game in November, one in December, and Redfall is still summer, probably late summer, and that's about it. And we know nothing, and we are waiting for June. So the first half of the year, we don't know anything about what's coming out. Is that modern anymore? I totally agree here with you.
It's just like I the first time I went to E3, it was amazing. Like I felt like I've made it, you know. I really felt like that. I never thought in a million years I'd get to go to E3 and all this kind of stuff. It is a magical moment, like for everyone in the industry. And you know, back in the day, you know, we call it like Christmas, you know. Like as we get older and you know Christmas stops being so fun and interesting, E3 kind of became that for a lot of people, a lot of gamers. And like me and Rand on the Xbox 2 podcast, we ran polls during the last show where we discussed this topic. And it's still like a good 50% or more of people were still like, yeah, we prefer like one big show a year, you know. And I think there is like a lot of, you know, nostalgia almost about the show. And, you know, some of my favorite moments from, you know, you think about that stuff, right? Like there are big moments at E3 where you have the like epic build up, and there's a huge trailer coming on, and you know they tease the game, and then boom, it comes on. It's like this big epic moment. I always think about when they announced Killer Instinct, and like the music came on, and I was like, oh my god, I know that exact chime, I know that exact note. It's Killer Instinct, and it was just mind blowing. You know, you don't really get that impact with to the same degree with like a direct stream potentially. That being said, there's a different kind of buzz with Nintendo Direct. Like there's always so much hype leading into a Nintendo Direct, so much social media traffic, everyone talking about what could be shown. Will Metroid Prime be there this time, or are we going to get screwed on that again? And Nintendo always does all these, like, Nintendo just does these wacky things. Like they make wacky games. Like I never would have thought there'd be another one of those Mario football games. Well, I can't even remember what it's called now, but like I remember that from ages.
Mario Strikers.
Yeah, Strikers. Yeah. I remember that from ages ago, and it's like I never thought we'd see that IP again.
Me neither.
Nintendo they just play to their own drum. They play to their own beat. They're just crazy random and do all this wild shit, and you never know what to expect from Nintendo Direct, which is really cool. And I would love it if Microsoft had something like that, but maybe they just. The worry is, I think, that Microsoft just doesn't have the content ready to make those kind of shows, and I think that's where a lot of anxiety comes from with discussions around this. Is like, if you know, give us a Nintendo Direct, not because necessarily we care so much about the format, but more like we're just desperate for something that isn't related to acquisitions. You know, show us some gameplay or something. We want to see some news. Do we really have to wait till June to see some game news? So I think that's where some of it comes from too. Is just the fact that we haven't really seen anything since Hellblade at the Game Awards, really. And Microsoft has a lot of games in production, and we haven't really seen anything of them yet. So
they have announced a lot of games. They haven't shown basically any of them. Well, Hellblade is probably the only one where we have seen gameplay. and even that looked more cinematic, but still, let's give him that. I want to touch on one thing you said, but first I want to catch up on a couple of the super chats. Chaos Might writes in and asks, Jez, what game are you playing right now?
Me playing a game on stream? I would never do such a thing. Actually, I can just show you what I'm playing right now. I think through the magic of technology. Is that going to work? Is that going to work for me? Is it going to work?
You can share your screen.
Yeah, capture card isn't working, sadly.
Okay.
But I'm actually playing Dark Souls right now. I'm playing Dark Souls Remastered, going through my second playthrough, just messing around. I'm not really doing anything intense right now, like a boss fight or anything. I'm actually grinding because I want some Twinkling Titanite to upgrade my gear. So I thought get some of that out of the way while I'm podcasting. You know, I'm good at multitasking like that.
You're definitely good. I couldn't do that, to be honest. I recently talked to someone and asked him, how do you do it during a podcast with all the stuff you have to do in parallel? Keep up with the chat, talk with your guests, change the overlays and stuff, read the super chats, taking notes, and it's stressing.
It can be overwhelming. Like I started streaming recently, and it's quite complicated doing all that stuff at the same time, but you do get used to it. You do get used to it, I think. Yeah,
it's probably just practice. All right. Dave Ramos writes in the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I'm all for quarterly Xbox Directs. That cadence matches wonderfully with Xbox stated goal of one AAA game each quarter. Yeah. Quarterly. That's definitely their plan. They said they want to have a big release every quarter coming into Game Pass, so that would definitely line up to that. And also, Jez, you mentioned it. There's this concern about not enough content being either there or ready to be shown. And that's, I think, a perfect segue into one of the big topics I wanted to discuss with you on the show, and that is the Xbox game roadmap, because Xbox has actually announced quite a lot games. There are around about 20 games that are either announced or known that they are coming. So, for instance, the Gears 6 isn't officially announced, but we all know that it is coming. So adding up on those 20 announced or known games, we also have a ton of other games that are obviously in the making where we know nothing about, and that's just the first party stuff. And then we have all these games that are developed with third party publishers. You recently also leaked a couple of them being in the works. So I want to go through a couple of them and just get your general thoughts. Let's start with the roadmap for this year. I mean, the big one is obviously this year's Starfield.
Yes.
So, they just earlier today, I don't know whether you've seen it, released a little teaser trailer again where they shown a guy painting the cover image on a canvas, teasing Starfield.
I didn't see it.
It's up on the Xbox channel, like 1 minute long or so. What are your expectations for Starfield?
I have like no idea sort of what that game is going to be going for. Like typically, like I'm a big fan of the Todd Howard open world RPGs. Since Oblivion, I never played Morrowind, sadly, but like I played like when I got my 360. I think it came with Oblivion. I think like I got a bundle with Oblivion and Dead Rising. And like I played Dead Rising and it was like, oh, this is zombies, I get this. But I never played a game like Oblivion before. It was just like a massive world and I can go anywhere and do what I want. Like I'd never experienced a game like that before. for whatever reason, and it just absolutely blew my mind. The freedom that those games give you, like it's above any like Ubisoft open world. I'm hating
Oh yeah.
Ubisoft again apparently, but like the fact that you can like do stuff like pick up any object and throw it across a room, and you know they just feel so dynamic and immersive, and I absolutely love them. So I'm expecting at least a Todd Howard open world RPG. That's my lowest basic expectations. But generally, what they tend to do with these games is they always try and take it to the next level. Like, you know, with Skyrim, they sort of it was a huge leap for like
Yes.
the engine was a huge leap from Fallout 3, and like you know, and then Fallout 4 even though, although I felt like Fallout 4 stepped back a bit on the RPG depth in favor of trying to be more of a shooter.
Yeah.
It still
And
had
some other elements
very
with the base building and everything.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's sort of, but that's the thing. Like they try and push it to the next level with like the base building stuff, and maybe they didn't execute it that well. Like I was really looking forward to, because like you could build all these traps and stuff for your base. And I spent a huge amount of time building bases for Fallout 4, and I was really hoping that like the first time I got attacked by by raiders or whatever, it'd be a really cool moment. But they just got stuck on the terrain and it bugged out, and it didn't work that well. And like all the traps I'd set up, like they just walked around them and they never worked. And you know, it was disappointing. But I saw what they were going for, and I could at least appreciate it. And I still had a load of fun building up those bases, and a lot of that stuff was repaired through mods and, you know, subsequent updates. But like at launch, it was just sort of another fun little objective to do, even though I felt like it irritated me how pigeonholed the decisions were in that game. Like you get 4 dialogue options, and they were basically all yes, yes, no, no. A lot of the time, there's that whole meme about it, and none of your decisions really mattered except for a few key moments, which felt like a big letdown from Fallout like 3 and New Vegas, especially, where it felt like your decisions really had a huge impact on the world, story, and the characters. So I'm hoping that we get back to decisions mattering. I'm hoping that we get back to, you know, and also I really want to know what they're going to do to add that next level leap. You know, like if Skyrim went to the next level by making the world even bigger and more believable, and the graphics upgrade or whatever, like obviously Starfield's going to have a graphics upgrade, but like what are the features that we don't know about? Like, am I going to be able to build and customize my own spaceship? Is there going to be spaceship combat? Like, it feels like there's so much that could happen that we just don't know about, and there's going to be like, I feel like there's going to be some major surprises about that game. But I'm just at the very least, I'm hoping for a good Todd Howard RPG, and then anything else above that I will take as a bonus. But you know, what are your feelings on it? Like, are you a big fan of those games too? Or?
Oh, totally. Skyrim is one of my absolute favorites of all time. It is, and I love the Todd Howard games. I played Morrowind also, and even Elder Scrolls 2 I played on PC.
Oh wow!
And I don't know whether I have ever told that story on a show, but Morrowind was probably the game that brought me over from being a PC mainly gamer to a console mainly gamer. I just got my Xbox, the OG Xbox. Halo was obviously the game to play on the OG Xbox, but then Morrowind came out, and I experienced for the first time a game that you usually could only get on PC. On a console, because I was big into games like Gothic and these big massive RPGs. I love them even today. Yeah, these are just my type of games. And Morrowind was that experience that you could only have on PC previously, and suddenly you could play that on a console, and it made me a console first gamer, to be honest. And then when Oblivion came out, obviously they took it to the next level. Morrowind was still way more linear in its level design, and And then, of course, with Skyrim, they took it again to the next level with really an open world and the quest design and the non-linear approach to the storyline and having multiple story branches and so on. That was just new. I also agree on your thoughts on Fallout 4. That was a bit of a letdown. I want to put out a quote here from Todd Howard on that game that just stuck in my head. He said that Starfield is going to have 2 of these step out moments. Yeah, that he went on in this interview. He's remembered us when we for the first time entered from in Oblivion, the open world, and wow, I can go everywhere. And you had the same moment in Skyrim and in Fallout. And he said there will be 2 of these moments in Starfield. And I don't know, for some reason, my mind immediately thought, okay, we will have the first one on the first planet, wherever we start, where you go out on a planet. And the second one is going to be when I enter space for the first time. So I don't know whether that's going to be true, but this is now stuck in my head, that you have these 2 levels here where you have like the different planets you can explore, but you will also have some sort of space exploration. I don't know whether that's going to be true, but
that's the thing with space. Like, your mind can really just go places. I'm like thinking, like, because No Man's Sky is kind of amazing in how big the galaxy is, and you can just sort of fly anywhere, and you can build bases on all kinds of planets, but it's all procedurally generated, and it's very, very obviously procedurally generated. And Elite Dangerous too. It's like, it's a massive world, but it feels empty. It feels empty because it's all randomly generated by a computer, and there's some sort of uncanny mechanism in your brain where you just know that none of it's real and none of it's crafted, whereas Skyrim never had that. Like, every cave you went into Skyrim felt handcrafted. There was always something to pick up and something to touch that you just know had been put there by a dev, and it wasn't randomized. It was all intentional. And Dark Souls feels like that too. Like, Dark Souls especially feels like that. Like, every corner of the game has some sort of nice little surprise all over the place. And and I think, like, the open world procedural space games, they miss that. They lose that. Agreed. And this is not an attack on people who like those kind of games. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Like, there's nothing, like, Minecraft does it too. Like, everything's randomly generated in Minecraft, and you there's that. You can go on epic adventures with your friends, but like as a solo experience, I don't really feel that sense of wonder, the same sense of wonder I felt in Skyrim. So
agree.
It's like, can they pull off that sense of handcraftedness with a game that spans planets and systems and solar systems? Can they really do that? Will I be able to travel manually in a spaceship? Will I be able to fly around? Like, the one of the things that always bugged me about Destiny 2 was, like, they were like, you can have a spaceship, but just for loading screen.
Yeah, for the loading screen. Yeah, exactly.
Let me fly.
I know what
you
mean.
Even in, like, in Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO, did you ever play that?
Yeah, I played.
You can get a spaceship in that, and it's way better. You can get in your spaceship, you can customize it. You can even dogfight in it in sort of like Star Fox style battles, which is I love that in Star Wars: The Old Republic. But it was very, very on rails. So I wonder, like, can Starfield take that experience to the next level? Will I be able to fly around, or will it be more like the Outer Worlds, where it's like, again, the spaceship's just a loading screen, really?
Yeah. Or maybe your inventory system where you can change your loadout or stuff like that. Yeah. But the game will definitely have 2 step out moments, and we will see if one of them will be in space. Before we move on to the next game, let me catch up on 2 super chats. The first came. Pardon me, we already had that. This one here, Chaos Smite writes in: Microsoft needs to have a Nintendo Direct style for games that are coming in the upcoming 3 to 4 months with actual gameplay, and to have a big E3 show just for all the cinematic trailer announcements. yeah, in theory they could have both. The more gameplay, game focused, direct style events, and one big cinematic announcement show at E3 definitely would make sense to have some updates in between the E3 shows. I think we all agree here.
Yeah.
Drawn TJ sends in another generous super chat, $20, and says, "Hey guys, did you hear Bethesda reset everyone's skills in the Elder Scrolls Online and made everything even? I think it's wrong because me and my cousin grinded the game and they just betrayed us as fans. Your thoughts?"
Oh wow, I did not hear that. That's
me neither.
That's news to me. I'm gonna have to look into it. But thanks for the heads up. I'm gonna get someone on my team to look into that right now because that is very strange. I wonder why they did that.
I mean, yeah, the expansion comes out, but it kind of feels wrong because isn't that the whole point of these MMOs, that you get attached to your achievements, your loot, the stuff that you spend hundreds of hours to get? Seems weird to me.
Yeah, I'll have someone look into that because I did try. Perfect. I'm an MMO fan, right? Like I got 10,000 hours in World of Warcraft. Like people who know me know I've got this weird. I got this weird thing with World of Warcraft. It's like burned on my soul. That game is like I can't be objective about that game. There's something about World of Warcraft that's sort of scarred into me. And I've tried like loads of other MMOs, and I did try Elder Scrolls Online for a bit. I just found it like kind of floaty, and the combat was a bit weird and stuff like that. But I do intimately know like how you fall in love with your character. Like I actually commissioned a painting of my World of Warcraft character. I was that like when I decided I was going to stop playing the game, I was like ritualistically, I need something to commemorate the fact that I'm moving on now. Mm-hmm. So I had commissioned the portrait of my Warlock. So I appreciate that. So I'll look into that. But that is strange. That sucks to hear, man.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. We will see what your team will find out. Sounds weird. Let's talk about Redfall. What are your expectations about that game? We haven't really seen anything official outside of that cinematic trailer. There have been these leaks of a couple of screenshots from playtesters about 6 months ago. And the game is supposed to come out summer this year, and we haven't seen or heard anything. So what do you think about Redfall? Will it come out? Will it get delayed?
There are rumors. Yeah, there were rumors that it was gonna potentially be delayed out of the summer to the autumn. But have they even officially given a launch window yet? Like
they said in the trailer, summer 2022. That's
okay.
Yeah.
So they have officially given a launch date. So in that case, like there is a rumor that it could slip, or it had slipped, and they just haven't said it yet. I feel like if it has slipped, they should probably come out and say sooner rather than later, because the information about that seems to be out there, and that game already seems a bit leaky because some gameplay footage of it famously leaked a few months ago. But I would not be surprised if that game's like been pushed back, especially because some of the reactions to the leaked gameplay footage wasn't particularly super positive. But I have no information on my end. I actually don't have any good sourcing on what Bethesda's doing at all, frankly. But I'm interested in the game. Like I feel it's kind of I'm a big fan of Arcane's games. Like Prey is one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely in my top 5. I absolutely love Prey. I loved every minute of it. I love the world.
They have just something unique to their games. Yeah. Always, also with the Dishonored series, it's always something outside of the. Let's use Ubisoft again. The standard formula. It's always something special. And something unique.
I actually
their games.
I have like I have an inside joke with someone at Xbox PR where I say like Arcane makes unmarketable games because like you can't explain them. You can't explain them in the trailer. You just have to play them. Like
Yeah.
Deathloop, like I didn't understand Deathloop from any of the game's marketing. I went to like a 20-minute long press presentation. And I was like, I still don't get what this game is. Like you just have to play it to get it.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a strength and a weakness. Like you
Yes.
can't market your game, it's a bit of a problem, but at the same time they make special stuff. So
Absolutely.
because they make special stuff, I'm optimistic for Redfall. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, do I really want an arcane multiplayer game? It's not where I imagine my my affinity for their games. But who knows? Maybe it'll be great.
I mean, we heard it is kind of Borderlands-like. It was compared to Borderlands to some degree, which would make me happy. I love Borderlands, these looter shooter type of games. They are definitely for me. Yeah, we will see. One super chat just came in that I don't want to wait on because it touches on the Elder Scrolls discussion. Drawn TJ sends in another super chat and says, it was done before Microsoft bought them, but if you haven't played in a long time, it's a kick in the teeth. They want to make it even competitiveness. Okay, so it's nothing that happened recently.
Oh, okay. MMOs do this sometimes. Like it's called like it's when an MMO has been out for a long time. They often do these things called like gear resets or level resets or number squishes and stuff like that. Like World of Warcraft's 18 years old this year, off the top of my head, and they've done it multiple times. Where it's like we want to level the playing field, and and every expansion, the gear basically resets. Like the gear you had before is no longer useful. It's just MMOs, I think. I
mean, even games like Destiny do it. Yeah, when the next season comes out, when the next expansion comes out, basically all your old stuff will be so under leveled that it's more or less worthless.
Yeah. It's just a symptom of MMOs and service games that have a vertical progression. Like if you look at something like Sea of Thieves has what they call horizontal progression, where like your character never really grows in strength, but you get like a lot of stuff. You get like cosmetics and prestige items and unique tools and stuff like that. But your character sort of grows outwards. But MMOs, they have this vertical progression where you're constantly leveling up, and you get this power creep and I remember a few years ago in World of Warcraft, people there were spells that could hit for over 1 million damage. So like you get like Warlock doing Chaos Bolt for 1.5 million damage, and your screen would there'd just be a huge number going across your screen. It was ridiculous. So they do a number, like they do a power downgrade or like a number squish to sort of rein that back a bit, because it's like after like 10 years of everyone gaining more and more power, sometimes it's kind of good to wipe the slate clean. But I get why it kind of feels sucky at the same time, though. Like I get that, but it just seems to be a symptom of the genre, sadly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, many games do it. It's probably also because otherwise you can't bring in new players. They don't stand a chance if you don't do it. But yeah, I get his point that it can be frustrating if you spend a lot of time working towards these your equipment and loot and stuff.
I mean, I played World of Warcraft in the most recent expansion, Shadowlands. And I did the first raid tier, killed the last boss, whatever, got a bunch of loot, and I just sort of dropped off because I got too busy at work. It was I think it was the year Cyberpunk launched. I think Cyberpunk was just coming out and the Xbox Series X was launching. I was just like, there's no way I can fit World of Warcraft in my life right now. And I literally resubscribed to WoW last week, and all my gear is useless. It's just useless, and like to catch up would be like an insurmountable task. So at this point in the expansion, it's better for me to just wait until the next expansion comes out, and then everyone gets reset back to zero. So it just seems to be like a symptom of the genre, because there'd be no way for me to catch up otherwise. So
yeah. While we are at the super chats, another one comes in from Drawn TJ, and he says, "Sorry for bothering you guys with these questions, but you guys are insiders." Well, I'm not really an insider. Chess is probably more of one, but he asks, Forza changed it so you get less money in wheel spins plus less money for grinding races. Also, where are the new 2021 and 2022 cars at and the expansion? Yeah, that's a perfect segue to the next question I had. Forza Horizon came out obviously last fall, last November, and it is rumored that Forza Motorsport is coming out this year. Do you think we will see an expansion coming out for Forza before that? And also, again, of course, yeah, what's with the cars and additions that they promised for 2021 and 2022? Do you have any idea what is going on there?
I have no clue. Like honestly, I don't play racing games at all. So I'm lucky that there's so many people at Windows Central and the team who are into racing games. So like I'm not familiar with anything going on with Forza. I just sort of let my team deal with that. So I'm gonna have to apologize and say I don't know a damn thing about Forza at the moment. I think a lot of people are expecting motorsport to be this year, but we haven't heard a thing. We haven't heard a peep out of the team, and so it could be that. It could be that this year we get a big expansion for Forza Horizon 5, which is obviously very popular.
Yeah.
Maybe we get a big expansion for Forza Horizon 5 this year and then Motorsport next year, maybe. But honestly, I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue what's going on.
So I also have no clue. I can also only guess. My guess was actually that they use a big expansion to kind of bridge the spring where they have no releases right now. So with a drop in Halo and a drop in Forza Forza Horizon, they can kind of bridge that gap. Since it's 5 years since we had the last Motorsport, I would be surprised if it didn't come out this year. It's really a long time for such a racing game. Obviously, they're building the brand new engine and everything, and they can take as long as they want if the game turns out to be great. But yeah, I would imagine that it comes out this year. This is just my gut feeling, but no inside source. So, let me catch up on one last super chat, and then I have a personal question because yeah, let's do the super chat first. Worst moves sends into dollars and says PC gamers love our Xbox brothers, first players. First players from Twitter. Shout out to you. Thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, so that's basically, we covered now Starfield, Redfall, maybe Forza. That's what we know is coming this year. One game that is probably my most anticipated game, and I know that you are the only one that comes out and says he has seen the game, is Avowed. I'm super excited for Avowed. I love Obsidian. I love the lore. Where they placed Avowed, and I was super happy to hear that they stick with the same lore, like in the Pillars games. And you have seen that game. Tell us a bit about your feeling. What do you think? When will we see that game, and when will it come out?
Well, honestly, the footage I saw of the game was from all the way back in, I want to say May or April. So almost a year old. And to me, it looked pretty damn great, playable and ready to go, frankly. This slice they showed off, it was very, very gorgeous. So the slice I saw is set in an area of the Pillars universe called the Living Lands, which is like a foresty kind of area. I don't know the full-blown lore of that area, the Living Lands, but that was like, it felt to me like a hub world. Like there was a part of the footage where it sort of zoomed out and showed like the map, and it didn't seem so big that it was like an open world. It reminded me more of the Outer Worlds, where it was like Outer Worlds took place in these big expansive hubs, and they were sort of connected. Yeah. And then you were connected to them by your spaceship, kind of. It sort of reminded me like that. But there are people who, pointed out to me that they were advertising for open world engineers and stuff like that. and there's sort of hints that Avowed is full blown open world. So maybe it was just like a part of the world that I saw, and that it actually is a full blown open world. I'm not 100% sure on that, but it looked great. Like it really did look great. So I don't want to inflate expectations because this is a pretty small team making it. The last head count that I saw, I think it was something in the region of around 120 devs working on the game.
Okay.
That was quite a long time ago though, so it's probably different now. But it wasn't like a huge amount of devs working on the game. It's not like, you know, the hundreds of people that work on Ubisoft's open world games. So I'm expecting a sort of similar scope to the Outer World personally. They could surprise us. It could be bigger in scope, but I'm expecting at least sort of the Outer World kind of scope. Also graphically, I'm also expecting sort of like it is stylized. The graphics that I saw were stylized again, similar to the Outer World. More detailed than the Outer World, I would say, less cartoony than the Outer World, but it still had that sort of stylization. It was a sort of similar kind of engine. It's not
so
like
not
going to
for
be like
ultra photorealistic look, but more. Yeah. Okay.
I wouldn't have called it photorealistic, but again, this was early footage, so maybe they'll surprise us. A lot of the combat looked it looked like a big step up from Outer Worlds in terms of its combat. Like the engine looked more dynamic, the animations were a lot better. Some of the spells I saw were straight out of Pillars of Eternity. Like some of the enemies too were straight out of Pillars of Eternity. Like there was a lot of those Zorrip little reptile dudes running around, and there was sort of like there was also a lot of physics-based combat. So like one of the abilities I saw is like a warrior using a sword and shield, and he does like a big sort of Sparta kick, and the enemy goes flying, and ragdoll physics splats into a wall and bounces off. It looked really, really fun. Like the physics almost reminded me of almost like Dying Light 2, to be honest, with the quality of the melee combat. But there was a lot of spells as well, and they all from the trailer. Those sort of crazy hand gestures from the trailer, they were all in the game as well.
He does the sign.
Drawing the signs to cast the fireballs and all the different kinds of magic. So it did look super impressive and looked super cool. It just looked fun. It just looked like a lot of fun. This slice I saw had no story elements in it. It was all 100% focused on combat, and it showed like bandit gameplay, like being a stealth dude with a dagger and backstabbing enemies. It showed like ranger gameplay with an archer with magic arrows. It also showed the warrior gameplay I mentioned with sword and shield and kicking enemies and stuff like that. And there was also like obviously loads of spells. I saw like the fireball spell from Pillars of Eternity, massive fireball ripping fire all over the place, and some more like utility type spells like lighting spells and stuff like that. I saw a sequence where they used a torch to burn down obstacles and burn down a door so they could pass through it. It just felt like it reminded me a lot of Skyrim, honestly. It felt like the Outer Worlds team's take on the Skyrim formula. If like Outer Worlds is their take on Fallout, then Avowed is their take on Skyrim. And I think it's going to be, I think it'll be a lot more combat oriented than Skyrim potentially, and maybe a bit more Mass Effect-y in its sort of like relationships with characters, similar to Outer Worlds was. But I am obscenely hyped for this game after seeing this gameplay footage, and I am not the only person who's seen this footage, because I showed the footage to Rand and I showed the footage to Clover as well, because I wanted them to be able to verify to me for me to others that this footage is real and I didn't just make it up. So yeah, they've seen it too, and I have no idea. I expect we'll see that game this year because, like I say, last year it looked pretty damn ready. I mean, there were things that weren't implemented, like there were some effects that weren't implemented. There were some textures that weren't implemented. There was some lighting that clearly wasn't finished or ready to go. But the gameplay looked solid. Like it looked playable. It looked ready to go. And I think we'll probably see the game revealed this year, and then maybe like a launch, maybe like Q1, Q2, 2023, maybe. But yeah, I was super impressed with it, and I think like you can really see Obsidian sort of getting to that next level with Microsoft's money, all the hiring they've been doing. It just felt like it looked like it was going to be a stronger game than Outer Worlds was, with a bigger team and more experience with the Unreal Engine behind them and all that kind of stuff. So I'm really excited for it, frankly, and it's one of my most anticipated games.
Yeah,
I think people are going to be happy with it. Just don't go in expecting it's not going to be on. I don't think it'd be on the same level as like Starfield or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't expect like that level of fidelity. But if you're someone who really enjoyed the Outer Worlds, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Yeah,
I thought Outer Worlds was amazing. It was.
Yeah, same.
We have these giant open world RPGs on a regular basis, and Outer Worlds did something special with these more closed areas,
intimate,
more intimate, and but they had some of the funniest writing I've heard in a long time.
The writing was great.
In an RPG, the actual mechanics were great. The way how you could progress your character and stuff, and overall, I just had fun playing it. I couldn't put the controller down, and that is always a good sign. So, and I also enjoyed the Pillars of Eternity games. They are great. Fallout New Vegas is, in my opinion, the best Fallout to date. So yeah, naturally, I'm excited to see what About will be, and hearing you talk about it, I'm getting goosebumps. Can't wait to see the game.
It looks really good. Like, I'm really happy for Obsidian, and I think they're doing amazing things. Like Grounded is just incredible. What they've pulled off with Grounded with such a small team initially is nothing short of incredible. Obsidian is probably going to end up being one of Microsoft's best purchases, and we've also got Josh Sawyer's game this year. The Pentiment are going to be revealed this year, which is sort of like being compared to Disco Elysium. They're just doing great things at Obsidian. I'm really happy for that team. They're
games on bigger and smaller scope. Pentiment, you mentioned it. It's probably going to be a smaller scope of a game, like an Avowed or an Outer Worlds 2.
They literally refer to it internally as an indie darling. They refer to it as.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's what they call Grounded, a passion project. Yeah.
Passion project. That's sort of now at 10 million players. It's hilarious. Right? What they consider to be a sort of small passion project that's blown up to 10 million players. But it goes to show like how small teams and small budgets with the right idea and the right passion can still create massive waves in this industry, which is why, like, this is sort of off topic and, a bit of a divergent topic to discuss. But it's why when people talk about monopolies and stuff and Microsoft, Microsoft's buying up the whole industry. It's like when you can have a team of 12 people create a game that can hit 10 million users, and it was on Game Pass and stuff like that, but we've seen it happen time and time again. Like, it happened for Valheim. Was never on Game Pass, and Valheim is a similar kind of game to Grounded, made by a similar sized team, and it's had similar success, and that's indie devs can have more access than ever to really blow up this industry. So I don't buy a lot of the consolidation stuff because of games like Grounded, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the whole monopoly discussion, we had that actually last week on this show. It's silly. It's silly. It's stupid. So let's talk about something more fun. What do you think when we will see Fable?
Now, that's $1 million question. I have no idea. I have no idea on the status of Fable. I don't have like a great amount of source on Fable. That game's in lockdown. It's like even internally, they don't discuss it internally. It's a very secretive game. They don't really share much between the teams, at least that I've seen. I mean, maybe there have been more recently, but it's shrouded in mystery. I have no idea what's going on with the game, but they've hired a lot of very, very expensive AAA talent from Rockstar, CD Projekt Red, like CD Projekt Red's combat designer, and writers from all over the place, like to really sort of
from Naughty Dog. They hired someone. And just recently, I've seen a couple of tweets online from ex-Lionhead developers also joining the team now. Do you know
that's
when we
really
heard the
cool.
first rumor of Fable?
I can't remember
That
off the
was
top of my head.
January 2017. That was the first time when we heard the rumor that that IP was handed over to a British developer. That was the rumor at the time. So that's 5 years right
Wow,
now. Yeah.
that's really
Obviously
funny.
that game was in a very early stage at that time, but I think after 5 years, we should be able to at least see something. Yeah.
It's hard because I know that Microsoft was sort of uniquely impacted by COVID because
Yeah.
Microsoft corporate had very strict rules about working from home for the longest time. And a lot of the teams just weren't set up for remote working. Like I know
Yeah.
Rare wasn't set up for remote working and they had like a whole building, they had like whole live I've seen it because I've been to Rare a
Yeah.
couple of times. Like their live ops studio, like all the code commits are just sort of like on these monitors in the sort of on the
Mhm.
walls and stuff, so they can see what people are working on in different rooms. And they had to like at pretty short notice translate that entire workflow to remote
Yeah.
servers and cloud and stuff like that. And we saw some leaks this week from EA internal meetings where they blame like work from home and the switch to work from home at DICE for Battlefield 2042 being, is it 2042? I always get
2042, yeah.
yeah, I always get my 20s mixed up because of Cyberpunk as well and 2077 and all that stuff. But yeah, they blame work from home for 2042 being a
Mm,
mess. And and I've heard that Halo was struggling because of work from home as well. And I
yeah.
imagine it's similar for Fable as
For
well.
Fable. Yeah.
So, yeah. So I guess it could be a while still before we see what that game actually represents. But you never know with Microsoft. Sometimes they do surprising things like
Surprise
buy
stuff, yeah.
companies for $75 billion. So you never know what's going to happen. Maybe we'll see it next week. You never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Indeed. Would be awesome. I love me some
it
Fable.
would be.
I was happy to hear. I always enjoyed that British humor. That was something unique in the RPG space. So,
I've only completed Fable 2. Like I
oh,
never
okay.
really played Fable 1. I completed Fable 2 and I never played Fable 3. But so I must be a terrible British person because the humor annoys me.
Oh, really?
I don't want
I-
happy games. I want depressing games. Give me more Dark Souls. But
No, I
I
really like
appreciate
that.
that people love it
I
though.
was I was also one of the few people that actually liked Fable 3, especially in couch co-op. I played that like 2 or 3 times with a buddy of mine in couch co-op. Pizza,
Yeah,
beer, and Fable 3 is an awesome combination. Um,
I did
yeah,
like
let
the
me.
dog in Fable 2. The dog was cool.
Another super chat comes in from John TJ. He says, "Are guys excited that are you guys excited that Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is coming out this year? It takes place in Hong Kong. The game is made by Kyloton Racing, the creators of WRC." Um,
I don't know what that is. Yeah, I mentioned earlier I don't play racing games so much, but
yeah,
I
Test
bet there's
Drive
people in
Unlimited.
my team who are really hyped about it.
Yeah, I was actually happy to see. I'm not the biggest sim racer guy. I like the arcade style, like Forza Horizon is totally my bag. Motorsport, not so much. I was happy to see that they are going to Hong Kong because we have these arcade racers not so often in Japan. And Forza Horizon was always we had that rumor for so many times. Oh, when is Forza going to Japan? And that's definitely a great setting. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see that game in action then. All right, let's continue here for a few minutes with the game roadmap. Perfect Dark. What do you think about that game? When will we see it?
Perfect Dark's interesting. Again, it's another game that I
Yeah,
don't really know much about. It's another game that seems pretty secretive internally. There was some LinkedIn job listings recently that suggest that it's going to have a service game or multiplayer component, and
yeah,
it seems like if it's a shooter, tactical, shooter kind of game, it might work in a multiplayer setting. Obviously, no idea what kind of multiplayer it's going to have. Maybe it'll have asynchronous sort of invasion style multiplayer, like a Deathloop or Dark Souls, where players can invade your game and assassinate you or something. Or maybe it'll have full blown competitive, team deathmatch. I know we don't know yet. I didn't play the original Perfect Darks. I recently downloaded one of them from the rare collection, tried it out, and I was just like, "What the hell is this?" And uninstalled it.
Yeah, they don't hold up. No. I mean, Perfect Dark, the original Perfect Dark, was basically the spiritual successor to Goldeneye. Yeah, but
really?
they lost the license for James Bond, and so they had to create their own IP, and that is how Perfect Dark came out to be. Yeah,
that's funny.
So yeah, it always had a big multiplayer component, and it was always kind of like deathmatch stuff. Yeah, it was a little bit an improved multiplayer of Goldeneye, so what it had in the time. And then we had the Xbox 360 release of Perfect Dark, which really wasn't that good, to be honest. And it also doesn't hold up very well. I booted that game up when the FPS boost thing came out. But the controls and everything and the mechanics really doesn't hold up. So I was, in my mind, always hoping that this is going to be like a Splinter Cell type of game, because the lore and everything would perfectly fit for a Splinter Cell type of game. But they said it's going to be first person. They will also focus on some sort of parkour. So in my mind, it's kind of like a mixture of something we see here, like Dying Light 2 and a first person shooter thing. And when I heard what you said recently, the LinkedIn thing with a multiplayer component or ongoing live service game, I would have been surprised if the game doesn't include a multiplayer component, because that's what made the original so popular. So,
oh really? I didn't know the original had multiplayer. Like, how did it work? Was it like Goldeneye or anything like that?
Yeah, it was. They actually had also a couple of maps from Goldeneye in Perfect Dark, like maps like
really?
Facility and stuff. They had that in Perfect Dark. Yeah,
I had no idea. I had no idea about that. That's interesting.
State of Decay 3. What do you think? When will we see
now
that
this
game?
this is something I know a little bit more about, because I do have some information about this internally. I think I said it before on a podcast with Rand and stuff, that they are one of the things they are prioritizing for a State of Decay 3 is making your community feel more human, more alive. So like for those who don't know, State of Decay is a sort of, you don't play as any one character in State of Decay. You control like a whole community of survivors that are sort of, they're procedurally generated humans. And there's that sort of, that lack of human touch, that's sort of intrinsic to procedural generation. It comes through in State of Decay. Like there are aspects about like the community that you don't really care too much about when a community member dies. I sort of like in State of Decay 2, like when my main guy died, I wasn't sad because of who he was as a person. I was sad because he was my most powerful dude.
Yes.
And yeah, I got my car got destroyed. I was in the middle of a field. I remember to be fair, I do remember this event distinctly. So it had an impact on me, but maybe not the impact I wanted. But I was upset not because of who. I can't even remember. See, this is the point. I can't remember what he looks like. All I can remember is that he was my most powerful character, and he had all my best loot. And
we all felt about that. And then you had like one horde coming at you, and
and he got killed in the middle of a field, and like even just getting his stuff back was an ordeal, because there was a juggernaut there, and I think I crashed into a juggernaut, which is something you should never do with a car, because the car will explode, and then you're screwed, right? And then there was a horde there as well, and there was zombies everywhere, and the dude got eaten alive, and then he was a zombie. I come back there, and I come back there with another character, and he was a zombie. It was a cool moment. But like I say, I didn't care about him as a character or a person. But that's something they want to solve in the State of Decay 3. There'll be more like, from what I understand, there'll be more like narrative missions with those procedurally generated characters. And it'd be like, there'll be events based around those characters within the community, without the community, where like you sort of get to know the characters more as individuals and sort of build up a story in a more handcrafted way, even though they are
Is
still
it that you get to know
randomly
the
generated.
characters you play, or is it more the characters you interact with?
Both, I think. But it's they want, if one of your community characters die in State of Decay 3, they want you to feel emotional about it, not just because they were powerful and you've lost your loot. They want you to feel like, oh no, I'm upset because I care about them as a character and their mission and what they're going through and what they've been going through and what their background was. So narrative and writing is a bigger emphasis in State of Decay 3 than it was in State of Decay 2 or State of Decay 1, which is pretty cool to know about. But again, beyond that, I don't know a huge amount of what the game looks like or where it's going to go and how much, going into it. There's been a lot of hiring going on there, a lot of remote positions blowing up for the game. So like one of the things I kept getting DMs about was like, oh my god, they've opened extra studios for the game. But they haven't exactly opened extra studios. They've sort of got like these remote offices set up, and where like devs from multiple studios can come together and work together in like a single place. And so they're opening these sort of remote positions all over the country to take advantage of the developer communities where they are and where the universities are, and like talented people coming out of university and stuff. Like, how can we get them on board and get them involved with the project? So they're setting up a lot of remote positions for the game to bolster the staff. And the fact that there is got so much staff working on it compared to the other games suggests to me they do want to take it to that sort of next level. But at the same time, these are all remote positions. A lot of them, from what I understand, are probably temporary positions as well. The industry, I mean, that's not unusual. The industry does work on that sort of basis. But I do think State of Decay 3 will go to the next level. And I'm really excited about it because, State of Decay 2 is one of my favorite games, even though it's janky as hell.
So addictive.
It is addictive. It is an addictive game.
Yeah, it is. I was so tired at work when that game came out because you play that game and then I do one more house. Come on, just one more house, and then suddenly it's 3 a.m. and God damn it, I have to get up
loading up your truck with all the resources.
Yes, it is like you said, it had its issues and some of the mechanics could be definitely ironed out, but in the end, the core gameplay mechanic is just addictive,
sublime. Then Microsoft knows they've got something special with State of Decay. They know they've got something special with it. They like having unique games. Like, there's nothing really like Minecraft out there. Like, Roblox doesn't really compare to Minecraft. No. Terraria kind of, but it's 2D. Like, there's nothing really comparable to Minecraft out there. There's nothing comparable out there to Sea of Thieves either. And Microsoft likes to have those sort of unique experiences that maybe they aren't like the most super popular, games in the universe, but they are unique to Microsoft and unique to Xbox Game Pass too. And they do like having that kind of stuff. So,
and they bring in the community all over again. People play Sea of Thieves for what now? 3 years?
Yeah.
And State of Decay.
Like I can't get into Sea of Thieves at all. Like, it's just not my kind of game.
Yeah.
But I appreciate how popular it is though. Like, it's really, people are so passionate about this game, and I love how, like, how hard Rare works towards, expanding the game and adding new features and all that kind of stuff. So it's I hope that State of Decay 3 gets that level of recognition, because they've supported State of Decay 2 really, really well as well.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, for many years now. And they have really improved it also, not just with bug fixes, but also with graphic updates and obviously content updates. And one super chat came in from Baldy McNosehair. Thank you so much for the generosity.
Brilliant name.
Yeah, I love that name. I don't know if you guys seen Bandai Namco's tweet today, but the pod from Elden Ring is at PlayStation headquarters, and people are screaming acquisition. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I've seen that tweet.
I think, well, a lot of Souls fans are nervous in this world of acquisitions because, again, FromSoft create unique games. Like there's a lot of Souls like imitators out there, like Mortal Shell and the Surge and stuff like that, but none of them really reached the essence of a FromSoft game like Miyazaki does them. And I think like there is nervousness in the community that like if From Software goes exclusive to PlayStation, those games almost definitely would go exclusive to PlayStation. It's not like Call of Duty, which is like too damn big to go exclusive in my opinion. Like the FromSoft games they're very popular and a lot of people know about them, but in the wider scheme of things, they're still relatively niche. A lot of people try them, but they don't complete them, and the engagement isn't that great on them compared to some of the other games that are out there. So would From Software, be acquired, and I think there's a distinct possibility that Sony probably would, if given the chance, acquire From Software because they already have a relationship. I believe Sony is an investor in From Software, and they own a small chunk of the company. They're also like probably have existing relationships because of Demon Souls. They're also like they're gonna have an existing relationship because they've worked together for so long. They're Bloodborne as well, and also they're both entrenched in the Japanese gaming industry, which Microsoft just doesn't exist. Microsoft just doesn't exist in the Japanese gaming industry. They're really behind on building up those important relationships, which you need when it comes to acquisitions. Like money only gets you so far with acquisitions. Like they need to have that relationship, and unless your company gets hit with a massive scandal which craters your share price, as we saw with Activision. Acquisitions comes down to, especially with independent companies, they have to want to be acquired by you. Sometimes it's not just about money. Like Microsoft could go to them like, we'll offer you like a million, billion, $1 trillion or whatever. But like at the end of the day,
there's always the chance of a hostile takeover, but you don't want to have a hostile takeover and all your talents will leave. Then the studio is worthless.
Yeah, exactly. And like you can't even like really hostilely take over a private company anyway. Like they'd have to sort of because FromSoft is owned by another parent company as well, so they'd have to want to sell them, and to get all that in alignment, you'd need to have the relationship in place, and I just don't think Microsoft has that kind of relationship with them. So I don't think the pot dude being at Sony headquarters actually means an acquisition is happening. But if one of the between Microsoft and Sony, if one of them acquired From Software, it would quite easily probably be Sony. But I could honestly also see Tencent getting them potentially, because Tencent wants to expand to Japan as well. And Tencent has a lot of money. No, none of us want that. None of us want Tencent. But sometimes you just can't get what you wish for, right?
True that.
True that. I mean, I've been on Xbox now. I never bought a PlayStation 3. I just didn't buy one. I bought a PlayStation 4 Pro, but I've barely used it. I just I haven't played on PlayStation for years. But I'm telling you now, if they bought From Software, I would go out of my way to buy a PlayStation 5 because I've become such a massive fan of these games. Sony knows what games, create those prestige, and that's why Sony's been working so hard to corner niche genres like fighting games and stuff like that, because they know their fans are so damn passionate, and they'll influence other people to get PlayStations as well. So
True. They know what the system sellers are. That's for sure. I mean, I have all the consoles. Always had. I play all my multiplats on Xbox though. It's just my preferred ecosystem. But I have my PlayStation for those exclusive games. Tomorrow, Horizon Forbidden West comes out. Really looking forward to that. These are the kind of games I like and I enjoy. But I agree with you. It's it is a system seller, and to have a game like Elden Ring or a Souls game exclusive to your platform would be definitely a system seller.
It'd be huge.
Yeah, yeah. So before we move into the community question, one last question. Now we talked about the biggest announced Xbox games. What do you think will the rest of 2022 look for Xbox? We talked about Starfield Redfall. We know Stalker is coming in December. So what do you think? What other games might come out? What will be the surprises? We have a couple of other games from third-party developers like Project Dragon. Is that ready? I guess says no, but Project
It's
Versa has got an affinity. Where do we stand with these games? What do you think will the rest of 2022 look like?
honestly think 2022 is probably going to be pretty light. Like a lot of the games that I leaked, like Swerte and stuff like that, are really far out. Supposedly, Project Belfry from Stoic is closer to being ready, but I still think that's 2023.
That's
So, like Project Belfry,
side-scrolling action game that we have heard of.
yeah.
Yeah.
Project Belfry is kind of like it's like a side-scrolling base building action tactics kind of game. Like I'm not 100% sure what it is without looking at my notes, but it sounds really great. Like Stoic made the Banner Saga, and which is a great tactics game, which you guys should check out if you're into tactics games. But this is more like action RPG oriented, I think, and like you get to build your own base and stuff like that. But there's a lot of games in development. Obviously we've got As Dusk Falls still in development, which is a narrative adventure game though, so I don't think that's gonna move the needle for a lot of people. But I think 2022 is going to be light, honestly. I think we're going to get Starfield's going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting this year.
Starfield, that's probably going to be the big one. What about Ark 2? That was announced for this year.
Yeah, Ark
with
2,
Vin Diesel and
I ain't an Ark fan. I think Studio Wildcard is a wild card, Like Ark is the jankiest game I've ever played, so I just I know people really like their games, but like I just like that pirate game they made. I just tried that and I was just like shaking my head, like how can people put up with this? So but I don't know. I know those games are popular, but I do think this year we will see Age of Empires on Xbox. Age of Empires 4, that is. So like there'll be Age of Empires 4 to look forward to this year. I'm pretty sure like you take that 90%, I think Age of Empires 4 this year on Xbox. And also Age of Empires 4
my most
DLC.
played game last year. Age 4.
Oh really? Age of Empires?
Hundreds of hours.
Did you play it online?
Also,
are you a
yes.
pro? Are you a pro Age of Empires player? Like, do you get all sweaty and Uber Micro and stuff?
What is a pro? I recently beat for the first time. I was doing a match against 2 AIs on ultra hard. I beat those. Does that count as a pro?
Yeah, probably. I don't think I could beat 2 AIs on normal. So
yeah, so they were teamed up 2 against 1. Yeah, so I play a lot with Wandering Dutch and Crazy Louie. We play co-op together against AI, and I also play a bit online against randoms. But what annoys me is that most of them, when they see that they are probably not winning, they just quit, rage quit, and it annoys the hell out of me. So
I hate that.
Yeah.
Like,
but it is an awesome game.
That happens in like I remember that happened in that used to happen in World of Warcraft, and they solved it by like if you quit PvP early, you get banned for 30 minutes. That's how they solved it in World of Warcraft. So it's like it's worth it to just hang around rather than quit out.
You know what? While we speak about it, I have to change the gameplay anyway because we are running out. So let's pull up some H4 here. It is an awesome game.
I have barely touched it, to be honest. Like I played like a few of the early campaign missions, and I was just like ended up getting sidetracked on something else because it launched in quite a busy time. But I suck so bad at these games, man. I quite like I like the PvP. Like, have you played Age of Darkness? It's like
a little bit.
Base against zombies and stuff, and they are billions. I like those kind of games where you make a base and it's sort of like almost like tower defense, but a bit more complicated. But
Yeah.
I can't do the more complicated stuff with the PvP and stuff. I just get completely ruined.
Yeah, yeah. I love strategy games, and I'm probably going to
They,
play another match now after this show because it is just so good.
they
Um,
they were very they were very tactical about the marketing for Age of Empires in Germany
yeah,
because it's super popular in Germany.
yes,
When
strategy games are.
they announced Age in Germany, I believe, at Gamescom, and they
Yeah,
also had this like big Age of Empires history event where they invited loads of pro RTS players to a Cologne, and there was like a they actually built like a huge like I don't know what you call it, like a like in the first Age where it's like just a little campfire, your home base. They actually built one of
oh,
those for this
yeah,
event. It was so super cool, but
that is cool. Yeah,
it was cool.
yeah, and it is actually really really good. It has a super a well-designed campaign where they have these little documentaries in between the
Yeah, I
levels
saw that.
that
Yeah.
connect them, and they are really well done. And they have a lot of diversity in the gameplay in the campaign, especially. So it's not all just building up base, beating the other guys. It's they have had some great ideas on how to do that. So yeah, I hope for every console player that it really comes out on console because it is a fantastic game. One last question: do you think Contraband is making 2022?
I'm not sure. It's possible. I mean, they could surprise us. They could be like at E3 or like, well,
Mhm.
not E3. I don't know what you call it now. Like the fake E3. They could be at
The
E3 and just be, yeah.
the event
They
in
could just
June.
the event in June. They could just drop it and just be like, yeah, by the way, Contraband's coming out Q3,
Yeah.
Q4, whatever. But I have honestly no idea about that game. Well, I know what the game is. I got the design brief, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know on the timings because obviously a lot of this stuff was written pre-pandemic, and the
Mm.
pandemic screwed everything up. So, but there's probably a slim chance that it hits 2022. But honestly, I don't know off the top of my head. But I am very excited about that game. It's
Yeah.
sort of based entirely around vehicle combat.
Oh,
Very different kind of game.
that's
It
that's great.
Yeah, they sort of basically you plan smuggling runs and
Mhm.
heists, and then you execute them, and it's sort of like the idea is to not kill your opponents. Like the weapons are sort of like the weapons revolve around disabling enemy vehicles, like taking out the tires and stuff like
Mhm.
that, rather than going on massive killing sprees with bloodshed and all that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
it's they are going for a sort of more tactical kind of action game, where killing is sort of seen as a last kind of resort sort of thing. But we'll have to wait and see how it does.
Yeah.
It's very interesting regardless.
That's interesting. In my mind, it was kind of like a Grand Theft Auto type of game where you plan your heist. Yeah, you have obviously vehicles and stuff, but then also maybe third-person action because that's what Avalanche is known for. So
Ah, right,
yeah,
right.
interesting stuff. What surprised me is that this game was so long in development. When they announced that last year, I thought, okay, this is like 3-4 years out. But then they had that press statement where they said that they partnered up more than 3 years. So, and that was in 2020. So it's now
Yeah.
4 years roundabout in development. Okay, so yeah, you think 2022 is going to be a lighter year for Xbox, and we will have a couple of
I do
games, of
think that,
course,
yeah.
at the end. Sweet. So before, Jess, do you have another, let's say, 15-20 minutes to have answer some community questions?
Yeah, man.
Awesome. So
Rocket.
let me read some of the super chats and then we move to the community questions. As an Xbox Game Pass sub, says Dave Ramos with a $10 super chat. it's fun to tune in and know we are getting all the new games. And in between the launches, you two folks add layers of enjoyment on top of gaming alone, enjoying the show. Yeah, thank you so much. Glad you enjoy the show. Then we have Space Dovakin with a $2 super chat says, I think Kadokawa is not in the market.
Yeah, maybe. Kadokawa own From Software, so
okay, thank you.
yeah. So a lot of companies are quite bullish, and they're like, we're not going to be acquired. We're gonna do the acquiring. Like I think EA said that to their shareholders recently. We're not for acquiring, which was kind of like a dig at Activision. Really, it was like, yeah, Activision's got to be acquired because they're such a damn mess, you know. But EA was kind of like, nah, we're fine. We don't need to be acquired. Actually, we're going to acquire others instead because we're so great. So like some companies are quite bullish, and you know, we see Embracer Group embrace a new studio almost every week, and they announced their financials are up 1 billion % and all this kind of stuff. So some companies are just like, nah, we're going to be the ones doing the acquiring. We're going to be the ones growing. We're not looking to sell, no matter who comes a knocking, you know. So yeah, maybe Kadokawa probably, like, they're looking at how well From Software is doing and probably being like, you know, we're on the verge of blowing up really, really big. And I think Elden Ring could be that game that really sort of maybe pulls in more people into the From Software fold, because honestly, From Software games, they're like, well, at least in the case of Dark Souls, I'm by no means an expert at Dark Souls by any means, but I always had this opinion or this sort of sense that Dark Souls was just going to be this game that was too hard for me to play, and that I just would not ever be able to play it, and that my reactions weren't good enough because it had such a scary reputation. But honestly, the games are nowhere near as hard as you might think, and there are a lot of ways. They're very fair. They're like, there's a lot of hidden items that can make them easier for you. Like in Dark Souls 1, for example, like there's a sword. There are swords hidden near the start of the game, which are just way more powerful than the kind of swords that you'd find more normally. If you just like look up a guide, if you get stuck and look up a guide, there's just so many different ways you can make the game easier. And you know,
you're 100% right. They are fair, and I think this is very important. If you design a hard game, it can never be like, okay, this feels like when I die, this wasn't my mistake. I never had that in a Dark Souls game. Whenever you die, you knew exactly, okay, I made this or that mistake, and that is very important when it comes to challenging games. Also have you played Hollow Knight? That is also a very challenging game. I died hundreds of times, but not once did I think it wasn't my fault when I died. John TJ sends in another super chat and says, do you guys think World of Warcraft comes to Series X and S?
Yes. There you go. That's my answer.
Super.
I think Phil Spencer said in an interview, I can't remember which outlet it was with, but he did like a whole string of interviews when they announced Activision purchase, and you know, he literally called out World of Warcraft, and he said, my ambition is to make World of Warcraft more played than ever. You know, and
he said like in 5 years he wants to be the game at the highest player count ever, something like that.
And I think, like, I don't know if you can achieve that without bringing it to more platforms. Like what he's talking about there is like, we bring World of Warcraft to mobile devices, we bring World of Warcraft to Xbox, that kind of stuff. So I do think that is in World of Warcraft's future, undoubtedly. Now, when exactly that happens is another story entirely, because obviously it's a very, very complicated game, and it's a very sort of very PC oriented game too. Like it's not really a game that would translate instantly to console. The whole the control system would have to be completely gutted and reworked from the ground up. They'd have to explore you know, how they're going to get the mods working on Xbox, because the game is designed around mods, UI mods and stuff. Like you basically cannot play it without UI mods. They've designed the game around that now. So they have to explore how to like overcome a lot of this stuff. And they've actually got to buy Activision Blizzard, which is going to take another year on top of all this stuff. So, will World of Warcraft come to Xbox? The short answer is yeah, I think it will. Anytime soon? The answer is no. You're going to be waiting a long time for that one, I think.
Yeah.
But it will come eventually, someday.
Sweet. It is one of the biggest IPs they got with the acquisition, so I would be surprised if they wouldn't make it available to more devices. Yeah, that's their entire strategy. Yeah. All right, let's now finally move to the community questions. So, as always,
wow, those jingles.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you. As always, the community can write in questions on Twitter and YouTube during the week to bring in some questions for the. Was that your girlfriend laughing there in the background? Yeah.
My girlfriend's watching Germany's Next Top Model right now.
Oh,
you know
my wife does the same thing upstairs. So
yeah. She's watching it on the surface because I was like, I've got a podcast, and she's like, well, and I think she must have forgotten that I'm live right now. She's just laughing. So.
That's all good.
She's immersed now.
I had my son one time burst into a podcast, so that's all good. So the community can write in questions, on Twitter, YouTube, so that you can be part of this show, even though when you're not watching live. And the first one is coming from Dave Ramos, and he says, he asks, the recent Halo Forge leak has me wondering, what other non-ZeniMax games do you think Xbox may open up to mods?
That's interesting. One of the interesting discussions in the industry right now is this whole sort of spiel about the metaverse, right? Now, the metaverse, Facebook frames the metaverse as something to do with VR, but Microsoft thinks about it differently. The way Microsoft thinks about it is the metaverse is the creator economy. So, i.e., people who can add content to existing game worlds, and that's how they think about the metaverse. So, like when it comes, or at least part of it, that's partially how they think about the metaverse. So that when they talk about the metaverse, they're talking about Minecraft specifically, because Minecraft is a game where there are companies who all they do is build Minecraft maps, and they make millions of dollars. Like their entire company revolves around Minecraft maps, and they make a huge amount of money on Minecraft through the fees of those the fees that developers have to pay to work with Minecraft as a business. And it's a similar business model to Roblox, and Facebook's going to have these kind of games too eventually in the future when they actually figure out what the hell they're doing. But so Microsoft, I think it goes beyond just simple mods and stuff like that. What Microsoft really wants ultimately, hopefully for them, is every game to be sort of have a creator economy component where developers can basically hook into the game and add, basically build businesses on top of all this stuff, right? That's what they want. They want to be able to sell this stuff to other people and ultimately add content to the game without having to make it themselves. And it saves them money, but it also makes them money at the same time. It's a very, very, lucrative business model. So the answer to that basically is every game, in theory, Microsoft would love to open up to mods, but how long will that take, and all that kind of stuff is another matter entirely. It's another question to ask, and it's another sort of thing Microsoft will have to solve, and it'll probably another one of them. It's going to take a long bloody time, I think.
Yeah. I mean, there are two different aspects to this. The one thing you touched on is, of course, user-generated content, like map design, stuff like that. The other thing is actual really mods where they change certain aspects of the game. And I kind of feel like the console space is difficult with that, because the thing about consoles is that they have always been this protected ecosystem. It's just plug and play, everything works. You don't have to go through the hassle that you have to do on PC. And when you bring in content, actual code from from customers from the community, you jeopardize the safety of your ecosystem, and I think that is why it's going to be hard. But I remember one interview that was like 2 years ago, where they actually talk. I think it was Matt Booty who spoke about it, that they had plans to extend their efforts with modding on consoles. So yeah, we will see. We have one question from Marian the Mad, and I'm a little bit afraid to ask this question because I might have to kick you off the show afterwards. What do you think about pineapple on pizza?
I love it. I love it. Give me all the pineapple on pizza. I don't know why people don't like it. I don't get it. I love pineapple on pizza.
You know, pineapple is great. I love pineapple, but I also enjoy, for instance, beer, and I enjoy scotch, and I don't mix them together. It's
my girlfriend's the same. Like, my girlfriend's like, I hate pineapple on pizza. It's evil. Why would you ever do this? You know, she just won't eat it. You know, but it seems like the popularity in Germany of pineapple on pizza seems about as mixed as it is everywhere else, I think. Like some parts of my girlfriend's family love it, some people don't. So it's always interesting to find out where people lie on that. But yeah, I love it. I love pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, me neither. I don't like it, but taste is different. So I can live with that. Here, Andrew Sauce writes in, best soundtrack for a game. His opinion is Fable 2. What are your thoughts?
Man, I've listened to the Doom soundtrack probably more than any other soundtrack in gaming. I just love the Doom soundtrack. Like a lot of game soundtracks, you listen to them because you want to be reminded of the game, I think, in some ways. But the Doom soundtrack I listen to like just because it's so freaking awesome. Like, I forget that it's related to Doom because it transcends the game that it's designed around. So just amazing.
It is a great soundtrack. For me, it would be probably Halo 2. I just love Breaking Benjamin, so I would say that. Yeah. All right, then. Pardon me, I just accidentally closed my OneNote where I have the questions written down. Here, White Hawk writes in, Jez, I'm a big fan of the Civilization series. I was wondering if you had any more information on how similar Project Indus is to the Civ series.
I'm off the top of my head, I don't know a huge amount of how close it comes to Civ itself. All I know is that it is a 4X strategy, which, you know, implies Civilization-like gameplay. But how close is it to Civ itself is something I just don't know at the moment. But I will say that Microsoft has a mountain of strategy games in development right now. A mountain. They want to be like they want to be like Paradox. I think they've got so many damn strategy games in development. I was shocked when I found out just how many. Like, there's a bunch that I haven't even leaked yet. You know, there's that many. There's just loads. So they're going hard on strategy. They've got another game in the Age of Empires universe that they're working on as well, nice. Which I know a lot of people are going to be really happy about when this finally comes out. And
this guy right here.
And they've got other strategy games like on new IPs they're making. There's just a mountain of stuff coming. So it's a cool, put it this way, if you're into strategy games, it's a great time to be in the Xbox ecosystem right now.
That is true. And with the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, there's always the hope of StarCraft making a return. That would be awesome. Just one quick super chat from Crazy Louis. He sends in 250 Dominican is it pesos? I think it's Dominican pesos. Yeah. Boxenberger. Yes, Chess Doom has the one of the best soundtracks. I love that game. Yeah, it is a great choice. Definitely. And also thanks to Crazy Louis. He is one of my mods in chat. as well as Jay and Fireboss. They keep the streets here safe, which I highly appreciate, and just want to take the opportunity to say a big thank you. We have a great chat here, and sometimes a troll comes in, but those keep the streets here safe, because I like to have a good conversations here. It's okay. I always say it's okay to disagree. Yeah, that strikes up a good conversation. That's totally cool. But I talked to all of the mods, and I said, listen, if you see someone attacking someone on a personal level, or discrimination, or stuff like that, kick their asses out. There's no space here for that. I want to feel everyone safe to participate here in the chat, and they do a great job. Thank you, guys. Jez, one last question, because we already run late. We have a record length here for the show. We are already 2 hours and 10 minutes in. So one last question before I let you go. Damn it, I accidentally closed it again. Where was here? The Bacon Life roads in. Have either of you heard anything new about the achievement system update?
The only thing I know about the achievement system update is that like they're working on it. Jason, and that's public information. Jason Ronald said on the Iron Lords podcast a few weeks ago that they are intent on addressing some of the feedback that the achievement system sort of become. I don't know. You describe it really sort of dormant, old hat kind of. So they are looking at it. When exactly that'll materialize into actual content, remains to be seen. But they are working on it. Is the short answer.
Yeah.
But I don't know beyond that.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything else either. Just a statement that they are working on, like you said, on the Iron Lord podcast, and I think it was like already probably 2 years ago or so, where Major Nelson came out and also said that they think about ways how to have some sort of achievements for players that only play one certain game, but spend a lot of time in that game. But other than that, I haven't heard anything either. But it kind of feels like it needs a revamp, the achievement system. So we shall see. All right, before we close off,
sorry, go on.
No, please.
I was just saying, like they sort of had a system like this in the works called the it was called it was codenamed the career system internally, and it was sort of like the aim was to sort of represent gamers who, because esports gamers, all they do is play one game because they have to train on it, right?
Yeah.
So for people who only play esports, a game like a load because of esports, they don't really play other games, and it's sort of the game score is of no benefit to those kind of gamers. So they've been thinking about this for a long time. I think the career system or whatever was in the works back in 2017, but it got shelved when Game Pass needed more devs. So like Game Pass needed more devs, and those devs got reallocated to from the career system to Game Pass, and all that kind of stuff happened. And it became a sort of not second class citizen. I mean, they just scrapped it, I think, because they just didn't have the dev power. But now that everything's sort of, they've wrapped up backwards compatibility, they've got more engineers to allocate to other projects, and so hopefully maybe we'll see some of this stuff looked at in the future. But we just have to wait and see, I think.
Yeah. We will see. Usually they do work on a lot of stuff that is improving, let's say, the user experience. It's of course the achievement system, but also the user interface usually gets like 2-3 revamps over the course of a generation. So looking forward to see what they do. One last super chat came in before we close the show. Drawn TJ says, I want a new Command and Conquer for Xbox. Yeah, I think the publishing rights are with EA right now, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely a strategy IP that holds a lot of nostalgia for me. No doubt, would be cool. But man, Yeah, Jez, thank you so much for taking the time. It was really awesome chatting with you about all the Xbox games and the roadmap, and it was some great insight that you gave. Also answered a lot of questions from the chat. Thank you so much for taking the time. Let people
No,
know
thank you
where
for
they.
having me, man.
Yeah, really, it's been a pleasure. Let people know where they can find you and what you've been coming up.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Jez Corden, JZCorden. I'm also on YouTube under a channel called T Plus Violence, where I stream Dark Souls and other Souls likes. I'll probably be streaming Elden Ring on launch day or on Saturday or something. Also on windowscentral.com/gaming if you want to skip all the Microsoft news. Also windowscentral.com. And WC Gaming tweets and at Windows Central. I'm all over the place. But yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me, and it's been really, really good show, and your community is awesome.
Yeah, yes, it is. The community is awesome. And if the community wants to find you and couldn't remember, all these links are in the description of the show note. And like you said, community is awesome. The chat was on fire today. Thank you so much for participating here in the show. You guys really rock big time. And thanks a lot for the super chats. It's a great time to be a game. A lot of games come out these days. We are not getting bored. In early 2022, it's a great time to be a gamer, and so people keep gaming on, have fun playing what you love, and yeah, don't forget to game on.